Can I now explain myself on why I think it makes more sense for private sector to build the units than the government? Because I have a few other things I want to touch on.
Pay for, manage, and be a landlord for?
No, I mean build.
Okay.
And then also run.
Really? Okay. Let me hear it.
So, at least this is how I feel. And maybe that's because it's...
own?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the situation that I'm in. But, so right now, even to get the money to build affordable, it takes an eternity. Mm-hmm. But the government, they get it. I understand that there's a lot of layers that has to go through before a decision can be made. They're under a ton of pressure, too, because if they make the wrong decision, it's the be-all, end-all for whoever's probably in at that time. Additionally, to be honest with you, most of the decision makers in the government probably don't own or have ever operated a rental in their life. Like the person penning off where the $100 million will go doesn't have a single rental unit. But they're making this decision on how to run, operate, where to build them, the whole works. Anyways, that's an aside as well. But so there's that aspect. Then the timeline, and then again the amount of money that gets wasted. If you provide it to private sector, to people that are like, this is how I see it. So for myself, I'm trying to get into this game. I want to build aggressively. Financing is a giant barrier for me. And they're willing to offer 100% financing to landlords to build if you meet their criteria. 110% in some scenarios. But I went to go do that. And the list of criteria that they offered me was, first of all, it's going to take you 2 years. The guy at CMHC was like, when do you want to have this started? And I was like, well, I don't know, next year. He's like, if we started today and we hit not a single roadblock, he's like, you would not be able to have a shovel in the ground until 2023. That's what he said to me. He's like, there's no shot. Like, there is no way. He's like, everything would have to go perfect, and that's when you're going to start.
Yep.
The next thing was the net worth requirement. They needed me to be worth like absurd amount of money. He's like, okay, if the building's going to be $20 million, you got to be worth $5 or $10 million bucks, which I understand a lot of banks want, but at the end of the day, like no one, like, you know what I mean? Like someone who's got that much money, then I'm going to go to a regular bank, build a regular building, and charge regular rents.
So far you're telling me a lot of reasons why the private sector can't do it. So now get to how they could.
That's why they can't do it, and that's why they're being prevented. But I think they should drop those barriers, because if they had the program available, if I was able to go in and be like, yeah, you know what? I am newer, but you guys are going to finance me 100% on a 20 unit, and I have to maintain the rents at this level. For me, I'm going, okay, you know, this is going to allow me to build a little bit of cash flow, get a building. Even if I have to run it for 20 years at a low rent, it's actually allowing me to get into here and build the stock that's required. I'd be all over that, because I'd be like, look, this is like, it'd be a literal job for me then. I can go out and just keep building units. I had the funding all day.
But we just said that you couldn't build those units and rent them out for less than $1,400 a month.
Yes, but this is saying give the subsidy to the private sector to actually build them and run them.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think that's part of it, and CMHC programs are available for that. So there's two. I can't remember the acronym for the first one, but that's the one where you, in theory, could get up to 100% financing. Yeah. The issue with that is that it's awarded by CMHC, so it's national, which means you in a market here are competing nationally for money against everyone. Vancouver, right? Toronto, all of these other areas. Second to that, only 1 in 4 gets approved, and they don't have bad applications. Right, I looked at this process as well. So they get 4 very good applications, and 1 of them gets approved. That's the ratio, and that's actually the ratio is getting worse because more and more people are applying for them. So it'll probably by the time this year's rounds, next year's round, it'll probably be more like 1 in 6. And then yes, their criteria are difficult, but they give you a 21 or a 25-point checklist. Of, you know, how do you meet these? And, you know, to qualify, you have to meet the affordability, which is 30% of gross household income. And then you get 1 extra point if you go, 10% lower. 2 extra points if you go 20% lower. 3 extra points if you go 30% lower. Then how long will you agree to do this? Will you agree to do it for 5 years? Will you agree to do it for 10 years? Will you agree to do it for 20 years? And again, you get more and more points for these. It gets prohibitive. It gets impossible to do. The other issue that I struggled with, because I went through this, rabbit hole, is everyone clusters around 21 points, right? Like you can kind of massage it. You can cluster around these 21 points. So everyone nationwide is at 21 points out of 25, and you're trying to find these little extra points. One of them, super easy one. What's your municipality going to do for you? Are they going to waive fees? Are they going to waive property tax? Are they going to give you expedited permits? All you need is one of those. Do you think I could get a single one?
No chance.
Nothing. I got 0. Halifax was not in the business of helping me,
build affordable.
One of those. Another one was form a partnership with a nonprofit or, a partnership group. And that is where everything that I mentioned earlier, that experience that I had was brutal. Brutal. People wouldn't call me back if they did say, yeah, it's not really our thing. I'm like, all I'm saying, and eventually I got a couple commitments, and the commitment was, I said, this is all you have to say, is I will keep 5 units, or whatever it would be, that you've got first right of refusal on. And when they come up available, I say, hey, do you want one? And all you have to do is say yay or nay. And even to get that level of commitment out of some of these groups, they're like, that's not in our mandate. We're handcuffed. That's not in our mandate. And that's not entirely their fault, but it was really frustrating. But it was very difficult to tick those 2 boxes that in other areas, it's like tick, tick, no problem. And then as a small guy, you're trying to build it and you're trying to build it economically, but the reality is you can't contract it. So you're going against these bigger groups, like some companies that have gotten these grants in Halifax, they don't need the money. They've got the money. They could do this.
Getting these grants don't need the money.
They could do these straight cash. Right? They're just like, yeah, you want to give us money for free? Like, fine. It's not geared for the success of someone like you or I. It's just not. So you're right. They need to take down some of those barriers on the CMHC funding. But again, that's a national program. I don't know how, because then you're trusting.
We're facing this problem nationally, though. I know, we're talking because it's more, again, a big thing for us because we're in Halifax. But this problem is across the board in all of Canada, really. There's a few places that it's not, but in general, it is everywhere.